Good morning. Would you like to join me for a somatic practice? If you would, come and step in. But actually, first of all, water. It's good. All right, so we'll do just a little bit of Franklin method this morning if you'd like to join me. We'll just start with 1 minute of noticing our bodies. And 3, 2, 1. Here we are. Oh, some of you have joined. Here, do some movement with me. Hi, guys. Do some movement with me. We're here together. So the first thing we could do is we could notice our feet. Noticing our feet in the earth. And we could create all sorts of images for our feet today. One image that I am connected to right now is the idea that my feet have roots like a tree. And so I could imagine that there are roots coming out of my feet right into the earth. And so if you'd like to do that with me and use that imagery, we could take a little bend of our knees and imagine how those tree roots really spread, like moss, they really spread into the earth. And then when we straighten our knees, we could also imagine how the nutrients from the soil can come support our bodies. So we could do that together. And if that's not an image that you like, then use something else. You probably have one. And in fact, you could even suggest one here on the video if you like. So what would it be like to feel really rooted through our low bodies as we bend and straighten our knees? Next, we could try just placing our hand on our abdomen. And when we breathe in, our diaphragm goes down, right? And so something that we do in the Franklin method is we use imagery as a way to help us improve our own functional biomechanics. So when we breathe in, we could use our hand to model our diaphragm. And then when we breathe out, diaphragm rises up. So maybe you'd like to try this too. You could just place your hand right here. And as you breathe in, and as you breathe out. A couple more. Maybe you could even imagine how your organs come out as you breathe in. So when the diaphragm comes down, it sort of squishes our organs and our organs come forward. So we could try that. And then you could just take your hands down by your side and notice what you feel now. Maybe you'd like to come back to those root and moss images out of your feet. And just going to do a little tapping warm up. So you can take your right hand in front of you and then your left hand comes right here. And we're just going to give it a little tap. And just notice how that feels. You could notice the way that your right arm feels as your left arm taps. Or you could notice, oh look, my kitties are their little faces, you can see them. Or you could notice how your left hand feels as the tapping hand. And then a question for your attention could be, could you notice both at the same time? So you just try it. Hello arm, hello hand. And maybe you'd like to get under your armpit. You know, there's lots of lymph nodes under there. Can really use a little movement. And maybe you'd like to get up into your neck. And then we could give this arm a little bit of a squeeze. Just noticing what that feels like. And if you'd like to use some imagery with it, maybe kneading pizza dough or squishing some silly putty. If anyone else has an image, feel free to offer it here. You could even just text it on the video. And then you could scrape the tension off your arm like it's going into an imaginary black hole. There you go. And then you could just stand up and notice your two arms and see if you notice a difference. We are all here together, but I can't hear your voices. But my arm that I just tapped feels a little bit longer and a little looser. If you're feeling that, maybe you could even reach both arms in front of you and notice if one's longer than the other. And then you could take that arm you just tapped and give it a little swing and just notice how that shoulder feels. And then you could try the other arm and notice how that shoulder feels. And do you feel a difference? So when we do this tapping, we're working with our nervous system. It's helping to improve our proprioception, our ability to sense ourselves in space. So let's do the other side. So we're going to go ahead and give our left arm a little tap with the right hand. And just noticing what it's like to notice that we have bodies. And our bodies, of course, are connected to each other, which is really important in a time like this. Could you get under your armpit? And the top of your shoulder. And maybe you can notice that you are breathing, or you could notice your feet in the floor. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling better. A little bit better. And right up under there. And then maybe a little bit of squeezing here, kneading that pizza dough, or playing with the silly putty, gluten-free pizza dough. And then scraping the tension off that arm. This time I'm going to send it into a big pile of quicksand. And I'm going to let my jaw go a little bit while I do it also. Okay, and then we can notice, how do our arms feel now? Maybe you'd like to take a little comparison. You could reach your arms out in front of you. Notice how that feels. And now you could swing your left arm up overhead and notice if there's any improvement. So let's get our whole body, shall we? Because we know that this nervous system work is very good for us individually, but also we aren't just individuals. We are with each other. So when we work on our own nervous system, we're actually helping our ability to connect with others. So let's go ahead and tap the top of our heads. If you'd like, you could imagine how this vibration goes all the way down through our bodies into the earth, into our feet. It can really help us get grounded here. back of your neck. I know we're trying not to touch our faces right now. Next time I'll do, or another time, I'll do something with the face where I'll wash our hands first before we work with our face and head and brain. Now we could do a little in our collarbones here. We have this beautiful joint here that's where our collarbone meets our sternum, and you can really kind of get in there. So go ahead and give that a little tap. And our collarbone goes all the way out here to our shoulders. We could give that a little tap too. Hello, collarbones. Thank you for helping me out. And we can come down to our chest. I like to have a little Tarzan moment here. Right. Our ribs house our lungs, which are so important for our health. You can get, again, underneath your armpits. And hello, ribs. We could give our ribs a little bit of movement. Imagining how our ribs could fan from one side to the other. And if you'd like, you could do some circular movements here, getting the front and the back. Maybe a little side bending. And you don't have to stretch your arms like I am, but you also could. If you'd like to add some imagery here, maybe you could imagine big accordions. Maybe you'd even like to get a little rotation so you could kind of twist your body. You could imagine your lungs spinning around your heart. And then let's give a little tap of our hip joints. Hello, hip joints. Oh my gosh. Because of you, I can walk places, so thanks. And sit. Even for those who can't walk, hip joints are important for sitting. And we could get our quads, insides and outsides of our legs, back of the legs, glutes, hello sits bones, knees, shins and calves, tops of your feet, and then any other part of your body that might need a little love and attention at this moment. And then you can just take your hands down by your sides and notice how your body's feeling now. I'm feeling a bit more settled. So just keeping this practice pretty short for this morning, we'll just do one other little thing. So we'll just work on some movements of our spine. So we have what's called flexion, which is when we round forward, and extension, which is when our body sort of bends back. So you could try that right now, just rounding forward and arching back. And there's this sense, right, that our head and our tail kind of come together as we round forward. And then they come apart when we're upright, and then they come together in the opposite direction when we come into extension. And we could use all sorts of images to imagine this. So one would be like our spine is a really long slinky. Or we could imagine our spine kind of like taffy, kind of stretching in different directions. We can also go back to this idea of side bending. So now that slinky would bend to the side, tumbling down the stairs in one direction and then tumbling down the stairs in the other direction. I'm imagining now like my body's being kind of gently ping-ponged, right? Whew. Maybe I'm like a tennis ball. And then we also want to give our spine a little rotation. So there are lots of ways to do this. And there's a kind of a more complicated one that we do in the Franklin method, but I'm not going to do that right now. So we could just imagine, have you ever seen those drums that have the little like strings on them. I'm kind of imagining myself like that. So our spine has all these joints in it, and it's important to move them in all the directions they can move every day. It's also a way to help us calm our nervous system. There's so many nerves in our spine. We'll just finish today with one more moment of noticing our bodies. Thank you for joining. I think I'm going to post some things about making elderberry syrup later today, and maybe another meditation. So thanks. Bye. Take care of yourselves and your communities.